Hello, everybody. Welcome to Below the 38. This is episode 37, the K-League 2 preview show, match day 15. This is the final weekend of K-League 2 before the World Cup break. There'll be no K-League 2 football after this coming weekend, like K-League 1, until July the 4th, July the 5th. It is Wednesday. I'm recording this in Korea. It's election day. It's a day off. These posters are everywhere for the time being, and soon they'll all be discarded. So a day off, Mike. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Sort of been working anyway this morning, so there you go.
Obviously, a lot of places are still open. I think most schools are probably closed, is where most of us find our places of employment. Quick reminder, website, it's a little bit clunky, but below the 38korea.com. There is a K3, K4 championship article up on that website written by Mike at a tournament that nobody knew existed, but it does exist, and there's an article about it on our website. And you'll also find a couple of articles about the Women's Korea Cup, the inaugural season, and the men's version, which is going through a transformation now. It will run from June to June, having previously gone from February to December. As somebody told me recently, it's only a matter of time before K-League 1 and K-League 2 become September to May leagues, unfortunately. But we're not there yet. K-League 2, round 15. It's funny because most of the teams in the league have only played 13 matches, but this is round 15. It is the last round, as I said, before the World Cup break. There are 3 matches on Friday, 2 matches on Saturday, 3 matches on Sunday. And because there are 17 teams in the league, it means that one team must sit out. And that team, of course, is
The Greeners.
Anson Greeners will not be in action this week. So their 5-game losing run will not come to a halt. They'll have to sit on that 5-game losing streak until the weekend of July the 4th. Anybody who's watching this on video will notice a couple of interesting scarves over Luke's right shoulder. The top-ranked team, the top-placed team in K-League 2, Busan iPark, and K3, Siheung, Citizen. It says Pride of Busan, which, of course, is their famous supporters group. Isn't that right?
Right, pop.
Yeah, and they gave you that scarf.
They did indeed, after shellacking Ansan 5-0 at the Wa Stadium.
There is a book, I don't know if any of you have read it, but there's a book called Who Ate All the Squid by a lad called Daniel Radcliffe, and he followed Pride of Busan just after the World Cup in 2002. So if you're ever looking for some early knowledge of K-League, check out that book, Don't Eat All the Squid. Anyway, let's go on to the fixtures. 3 on Friday. I think they're all on at 7:30. And all these fixtures involve a massive amount of travel. It's just extraordinary that they planned the schedule this way. We have Daegu FC versus Paju. That is a 320-kilometer one-way trip for Paju. We have Busan iPark, the leaders, versus Cheongnam Masan. That's a 330-kilometer one-way trip. And then we have Songnam versus Gimhae. Mike and I will both be at this game on Friday night at Tanchan Stadium, and that is a whopping 343-kilometer one-way journey for Gimhae on a Friday night. Where do you want to start with those fixtures?
I'd get Daegu Paju out the way. I can only see that being a Daegu victory, really. Daegu starting to... I mean, they had that draw last weekend, but just... I've got a feel they're not going to finish in the top 2, but I think they'll finish in the playoffs. I think that's cemented now. But Busan's one is trickier than I think many people might expect because, of course, Asan got that win last weekend, and well, some people are writing off Busan a little bit, saying, okay, the wins are starting to grind into 1-0s and draws and etc. etc. But they got a thumping win last weekend. They put 4 goals in. Not for the first time, I think, this season. They've got 28 goals, more than anyone else in the K-League 2 this season. So I think this might be a tricky one for Busan, but it's coming at the right time for them as well. I think they'll sweep Asan aside.
Asan have a pretty mediocre record, actually, against Busan. This is the first time they've played each other this season, and this season each team is only playing against each other twice, which is a little bit better. Last season there were 3 fixtures between all the sides, but now because there's a ridiculous 17 teams in K League 2, they only play against each other twice. Last 5 fixtures between these two sides, Asan have failed to score in 4 of them. But the one game that they did score in, they won 3-0 in November last year. So I think this could be a good game. This is probably flying under the radar as the potential game of the weekend in K League 2.
Yeah, I think Asan, we talked about this on the week that was, but I think Asan are 3 points off the playoffs. I would say that if they pulled up a win here, then they're in the conversation. If not, they'll be going into the second half of the season. Again, probably the top of the best of the rest for the league, I think. Let's
move on to Saturday. There's 2 matches on Saturday. They're both on at 7.
So we did miss one. We did dismiss one.
What did we dismiss?
Songnam Gimhae.
Oh, well, I thought we might talk about that a little bit more detail as the game that we are going to. But what do you want to say about it then?
We'll talk about it later.
Let's talk about that one later. 2 games on Saturday, 7:30 p.m. The big one, probably the biggest game of the season so far for both clubs. It's Gyeongnam versus Yongin. 285 kilometers from stadium to stadium. Another game that takes place this weekend, which involves a first ever meeting between the two sides. This is the 3rd of such fixtures. And then there's also the meeting of Hwasong and Suwon Blue Wings.
Right. So, of course, Gyeongnam Yongin, that's now a mid to lower table clash. Both of them look far too good to go down. Neither of them look like they've got enough to challenge the playoffs. So, I mean, good luck to them. That's all I can say there. Make some friends. But, of course, that other one, that is the big one of the weekend. It could spell absolute chaos for Suwon Blue Wings if they do not come away with a win there. On the other hand, a Hwasong victory could propel them into the top 2. In fact, they could well be second on Saturday night after that one. It's a huge game. And I think Hwasong are a team without the pressure as well.
Probably. Also, but the games are taking place on Friday, and then the other game that takes place on Saturday. This won't be interrupted. This will be 3rd versus 4th by the time the two sides play against each other. I know Daegu can go level on points with Hwasong, but basically it's going to be 3rd versus 4th. Last season they played against each other 3 times, twice in Hwasong. The game was ended 1-1 and 3-2 to Suwon. I remember watching that game in a chicken restaurant with you, that 3-2 win. The Blue Wings needed to win that game to keep their championship hopes alive for another week, and they did, and then they ended up duffing it the following week anyway. The Blue Wings won 3-1 in Suwon earlier on in the season. The reason why I bring that up is that the Blue Wings were probably better then than they are now. They were certainly scoring way more goals than they were then than they are now, and Hwasong are comfortably better than they are this time last year. They're still awaiting their first ever win over Suwon Blue Wings. I haven't checked what the odds are in this. I'm sure somewhere, some company around the world is offering match on this. I certainly would not have any faith in putting money on the Blue Wings to win that game. I think if they could, a draw would be a disappointing result given where they would have expected to be at this point of the season. But where they are right now, I think they take a draw at Hwasong.
It probably shows just how far down and how deflated the Blue Wings' expectations have become, because again, a draw should be unacceptable there. It should have been a win. But yeah, they find themselves in a real scrap to get promoted now. And they saw exactly what Incheon did last season. It looked like at the very beginning of the season the Blue Wings were going to grind out wins and play that way, and it hasn't worked out at all. Bear in mind, Blue Wings have only scored 4 more goals than Ansan have this season, which is diabolical, really.
Yeah, and they've only scored 3 more than Cheongbuk Cheongju, who haven't won a game all season, which I think is extra diabolical. Speaking of Cheongbuk Cheongju, they start the Sunday fixtures. They are away to Seoul Leland at 7:30 p.m. on Sunday night. Seoul Leland have crept into second spot pretty much out of nowhere. The other Suwon team, they visit Cheonan, who are in a decent run of form as well. They mightn't always be picking up the results, but they're difficult to beat, Cheonan. This looks like being the best Cheonan team we've ever seen in K League 2. And then there's a really interesting game, a very big game in Salta Stadium in Gimpo. It's Gimpo's home opener. Incredibly, they played 13 matches so far this season. As we said in the weekend, none of those games have been at home. and they're playing against what could well be the worst team in K-League 2 at the moment, Jeonnam Dragons. A whopping 380-kilometer one-way trip for Jeonnam. I don't know when they're going home. If they're going home straight after that match, they'll be on the bus at after 10:30, and then they'll have to go 380 kilometers across the Han River through pretty much all of Korea down to the very bottom of Jeollanam-do. So that's Gimpo versus Jeonnam Dragons. Gimpo's first home game of the season. Seoul Disneyland versus Cheongju, so awaiting their first win of the season, and Suwon FC visiting Jeonnan City.
Right, so yeah, I think Elan have to cement second place going into the World Cup break. I don't see how anything other than a win against Cheongju is going to happen, but you know, strange things can happen. Just on that Jeonnam game, why they shouldn't be playing games of that distance on a Sunday evening. There's a Korean couple who drive to every Jeonnam game. I only came to know them because it happened to pop up that they've been when they came up to Ansan, and it's really not right that they're put into that at all. And someone is in charge of these fixtures. They can at least attempt to prevent this from happening. Like the famous 7 p.m. in Sogwipo on a Sunday evening, etc. It's really poor for a league which needs to attract more fans.
I've said this so many times before. Like, it feels like football in Korea is not designed with fans in mind. There's always weird kickoff times throughout the year, and then they'll also do things like, and this decision might have been taken out of their hands. You could probably extend this even to Asian football, moving Asian Champions League matches from Gwangju and Jeonju up to Yongin. So yeah, this is the last weekend before the World Cup. There's no doubt that if this is how the fixtures were laid out at the start of the season, there's no reason why you can't at least change some of these. Hwasong are playing the Blue Wings on Saturday. As far as I know, that's probably the game with the shortest amount of distance between two sides. It's about 25 kilometers from stadium to stadium. It's not like a lot of people are going to be watching this on television. It's not exactly primetime television either, Saturday at 7:30. Could they not have moved that Jeonnam Dragons game to Saturday and moved the Hwasong Blue Wings game to a Sunday, given that there's far less travel involved for the fans and for the players? I don't know, but yeah, like it does feel like a lot of decisions when it comes to Korean football are not made with fans in mind. That's why it was good to hear the news the other day that they're going to extend the away fan section in certain stadiums. It's fine in Daegu Stadium where the stadium is small and you can only have a certain number of away fans at the stadium, but like I've been complaining about all season, throwing fans out of home fan sections in stadiums that are 40% full is absolutely madness. And in this case, like you were saying, asking Jeonnam Dragons to travel, what did I say that was? 380 kilometers one way from Gwanyang to Gimpo on a Sunday night. Monday isn't a day off is just baffling. It's absolutely crazy.
Right, and all credit to any of the Jeonnam fans who do make that trip. Is this Gimpo's first dance at home this season?
Yes, it is. It is. They've lasted 13 matches. Out of the 13 matches that they played on the road, they won 6 of those, and they've drawn 5. 2 defeats out of 13 away games so far is bloody good going for a team with a mediocre budget like they have. They are not one of the power hitters in K-League 2. They've won 3 in a row. They're unbeaten in 4. Really good going. It'd be disappointing from their point of view. Gimpo's a nice club. I probably shouldn't say it. This doesn't really matter, the context of our podcast, but I've been there a few times for media. It's always a nice club. They'll always give you the interviews you're looking for. They do have designs on being a K-League 1 club, despite being very, very small and having a very small stadium. It doesn't have a running track, which works in its favour. But they've put themselves in an unbelievable position to get promoted this season. They are currently 4 points behind. I think it is 3 points behind the Blue Wings,
3 points,
who are third. And you figure that's the same number of points, obviously, behind Seoul Land as well. So yeah, very, very interesting stuff for them. I can't wait to see what they've done with the stadium, because they have done this before. 2024, they had a huge number of games on the road at one point, and then you're looking at the stadium afterwards. I know pitch repairs can take a long time. That could take a good 6 months. but there was talk of there's one stand behind the goal, backs up onto the road, and that stand, there's nothing there. It's a bit like the Rayo Vallecano Stadium in Spain. The stadium has 3 stands. So there's talk of building a stand there. I don't know if that's what they're doing at the moment. I get the feeling it's probably just pitch repairs. We'll find out this weekend.
Right, and we could be looking at, by the end of this weekend, that the top 4 could well be Busan, Seoul Eland, Hwasong and Gimpo. So watch out, K1. And,
yeah.
But we have to actually, let's not forget that the other game on the Sunday is actually quite an interesting one as well. Cheonan Suwon. You mentioned Cheonan have, they've done quite well so far this season. A team that's been spent a long time in the lower reaches of Korean football, but I mean they're not a million miles off the playoffs, and they could actually get within a point of Suwon FC if they actually beat them at home. Suwon FC are in not amazing form. It's not impossible. So I think that could be probably the most interesting of the fixtures on the Sunday, certainly.
Yeah, good luck to them, John. And they're just one of those clubs as well. It's naturally this is going to happen, but when they have a good player, that good player just gets purchased or bought out or moves on a free contract either in the summer or the winter time. So the fact that they are 9th, they are 1 point behind their great rivals across the KTX line, Cheongnam Asan FC. We are going to Tancheon Stadium on Friday. I think it's my second visit of the season. I think I saw them against, I can't remember. I think it was Songnam against Paju or somebody earlier on the season. I can't remember. But anyway, Songnam were agonizingly close to promotion last season. And then, as tends to happen, they lose pretty much their entire squad because they don't have K-League 1 budget to pay for the players. So anybody good at Songnam last season has pretty much moved on. At the time of recording, which will also be the time, the positions when the game kicks off too, of course, they are 10th, 7 draws in their 13 matches. It's not unheard of for K-League 1 and K-League 2 clubs to draw lots of games so far this season. They've only lost 3 times, which is the same number of defeats as the Suwon Blue Wings, for example, have had. 13 goals scored is way too low, 13 conceded, a goal difference of 0, 16 points from their 10 matches. They play Gimhae. I've never seen Gimhae before, so that'll be that footballogy thing all checked off. I'll have seen every single team in K-League 2. 1 win from 13, 10 losses, 10 goals scored, 29 conceded, 5 points. They could be off bottom spot if they win this weekend, and John, I'm losing Gimpo.
Certainly, and it's not. They played really well last weekend, Gimhae. If they really put Gimpo through their paces and gave Gimpo a really hard time. So all the praise we've heaped on Gimpo there, well, that might inversely show that Gimhae have sort of turned a corner because they got battered by Daegu a few weeks back, but then they got that first win against Jeonnam, and yeah, I think this one is an interesting one. Songnam will think we've got to win this, but Gimhae might see an opportunity to escape from the bottom of the pack. Just like you, this was my first chance to see Gimhae in the K-League 2. I came back from a trip just a little too late in the day to get on the Ansan bus down there. Kind of wish I had, because it would have been the biggest win I've ever seen for Ansan Green. I think any Ansan. I think I saw the police win 5-0 at once, but I have seen Gimhae in the National League and the K-League 3, so I've kind of travelled with them in a way, if you like. So that'd be an interesting one as well. And we can't escape as well that the K-League 3 is continuing this weekend, and by the end of this weekend, we could be considering who Jeonnam might be playing, because Pocheon host Busan Gyeotong, and if Siheung don't beat Yeoju away, then that could be down to 3 points. So the K-League 3 is getting a little more interesting now that Siheung have started to lose points here and there.
Let's keep an eye on that one. I'd love if there was a game on today, such as a random K3, K4 championship. There's an article about that on our website, by the way, uploaded38korea.com. As today being election day, it would be nice if there was a game on there. You might have been able to go see Siheung. They did play at home last Wednesday. What was that? That was Dangjin they played, is that right? You went to see?
Dangjin at home, yeah. All K3 clash. And in Okay, in a tournament, I have Siheung on alerts on multiple apps. I have all the local clubs on alerts because sometimes games you forget there's a game on, you've got nothing else on. It's a good chance to take in some K-League vibes if you like. But that didn't pop up on any alerts whatsoever. I only discovered it on the morning, I think, of the game. I was just, what's this K3 K4 Championship? And 2 p.m. on a working day, just quite incredible scheduling.
Yeah,
it really is.
So it goes back to what we were saying before. Fans and getting people into stadiums doesn't appear to be one of the major concerns of football in this country. Just to quickly circle back to that Songnam game, 13 goals for Songnam, 10 goals for Gimhae. There are 3 teams in the division have actually scored more goals than those 2 sides have put together. We could be looking at the dreaded 0-0 here. I've already seen a K2 0-0 this season. I don't think I can deal with a third one. Second one.
I haven't had I think I've taken about 30 odd games so far this season, and I haven't seen a 0-0 yet. So you've jinxed it now. No, I think it's going to be, both teams are going to come alive. It's going to be a 4-4.
That'd be nice.
The Magpie is going to take off into the sky.
I have seen a 4-4 in that stadium before when Songnam were relegated and they played against Daegu. A repeat of that would be sensational. Before we go, it's time for your favourite segment of the week, Mike, from Inside the Box.
Okay, well, I haven't dug very deep inside the box this time so it's just something more surface, and it's. But while I've got the Siheung flag there, we got this exciting Siheung sticker. Why it's relevant, I think, is you can actually see a lot of clubs have rebranded themselves in recent years. Gimhae, of course, would be one of them. And Siheung basically used to be, I don't know if you ever remember, there used to be Seoul United, then it became Seoul No One United, and they basically played in black and white stripes and slightly rejigged the Newcastle United badge. But there were seahorses on it, so it was quite clear. And they called themselves No One United FC, NUFC. You could see what they did there. Siheung basically used to play in red and white stripes, and if you look at that badge, it looks rather familiar to a team from a particular capital on the Iberian Peninsula. Yeah. So Siheung have rebranded themselves. They now, for the past 2 seasons, play in blue, and they got a lovely flower. And so not a very exciting one, perhaps, but still, it's a bit of evolving Korean football.
I liked their kit before because, as you were saying, the Iberian Peninsula, it very much looked like an Atletico Madrid kit, and now it doesn't look like an Atletico Madrid kit anymore. And that Atletico Madrid kit was quite a nice one, so I was disappointed when they rebranded as well. Speaking of logos or emblems or crests, whatever, is this the best one in the league?
The Siheung rebranded one?
This magpie I'm waving at you from Songnam.
Just a moment. I must admit, I flicked off the video.
We're not on the video.
Right. There we are.
There we go.
Right, show me the magpie. Oh, that one. I will go out on a limb and say. Actually, I wrote an article about Lim Wan Sop called that. No, we had a podcast on it. Anyway, Songnam's gear is it still Umbro? But it might be it's probably, I would say, the best gear in all the K-League. If you're traveling to Korea and you want a souvenir shirt or something, some of the polos and other gear they've got in their club shop, it's magnificent. And I can't purchase it, not being a Songnam fan. Nor could I really wear it, unless the club wished to gift me something.
Hint, hint.
But no, it is good. I do like it. I think behind me there's the old Songnam logo, which was a Pegasus, for some reason. But I do like the magpie logo. It's pretty good. Not as good as having a couple of nuclear wolves on there, but it is pretty good.
Years ago, I do this sometimes. I've done this with Buchan, I've done this with Anyang, and I've done this with Pohang. I've gone to games and had a number of beverages and come out of the club store with something. So I went with the Songnam baseball jersey for some reason. It has the buttons down the front, but the crest is absolutely glorious, and it has their 7 K-League 1 stars above the words football club, which if you're looking for a sign of how far they've fallen off, I just say popularity, they've fallen off where they should be in Korean football. That is it. And when we go to this game on Friday, we'll take a video of the store and also the wall. There's the honours wall opposite the main stand, overlooking the pitch. It has a list of all the AFC Champions Leagues they've won, the 7 K-League 1 titles they've won, and the Korean Cup trophies that they've won. This is a club with loads of history, loads of tradition, and yet they are mired in utter mediocrity now in K-League 2, unfortunately.
Right, definitely, basically one of Korea's most decorated clubs.
We hope to show you, we hope to show you what Songnam is all about. Remember, we take you there. That's why we're going to be doing this videos on Friday. I think that's it for us. Election Day, Wednesday. Hopefully this will be out in plenty of time for you to listen to it before Friday night's action in K-League 2. And this is our last preview show before July. So from Mike and I for now until July, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next month. Goodbye.
Take care.